Jess, good to see you again. Thanks for thanks for taking on this topic, because it is something that I think a lot of people just like to say and talk about when we talk about humanizing work, and particularly in this very stressful time for most everyone. It's obviously a significant disruption. That being said, to actually bring it to life is a challenge, and defining it is part of the first step. So I'm really interested in what you have to share. So, for those who don't know, for those three people who don't know, Jess Von Bank from Leapgen, heading marketing there and building community around the now of work. So thank you for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Al, for having me. And I do have slides for this. I like to just sort of talk naturally and off the cuff, but I do think it's important to give concrete examples. And so I really put a lot of thought into, like, what does that look like in practice? What are we actually talking about?
All right, you go share and I'll join you at the end. Sound good?
Share, and we'll get started here.
All right, have fun.
Thank you, Al. Hang on one second. I'm going to get myself into presenter mode. There we go. Well, as Al said, I am Jess Von Bank. I wonder if that took away, I don't know if you can still see me on video, or if you're just seeing my slides. Let me try something else. We're just working together on the fly here. How do you like that? We're going to try this. Okay, good. Now I think I'm still on video as well. Thanks for working with me on this. Okay, so I did call this presentation the Humanization of Work, because when we think about the opportunity that we have in front of us to drive true, meaningful, sustained transformation, it really does have to be a human-centered approach. And there are some critical elements and some critical capabilities that we need to bring to the table in order to make that real, to make that happen. And so just by way of introduction, again, I'm Jess. You just saw me alongside Dan, so you know that I run marketing at Leapgen. What does Leapgen do? We're a consulting firm. We call ourselves transformation evangelists. We are all about elevating, truly transforming, but elevating workforce experience and the function of HR, because the two kind of need to happen concurrently. We use this. This is the tattoo I would put on my back if I had one. We use this to drive and the framework and the conversation when we work with enterprises and solution providers, by the way, in the space of workforce experience. The component that is so often missing is this mindset. It's really about having a digital mindset and a digital vision for your workforce experience before you can ever get to the rest. But then it becomes also critically important to know your people. If you're going to design workforce experience for them, you have to truly know and understand them and the journeys they embark upon in their daily experience of work. When you've done that work, when you've truly articulated the ideal vision, the ideal experience for your workforce, with that mindset, that digital mindset that you start from, when you've done the work to know your people, understand the journeys, the feelings that they have when they conduct work, then you've earned the right, we like to say, to consider the technology solutions that can best deliver, scale, and sustain that. So that's what we do. Obviously, we know this work is more important than ever because everything changed. It was already time to do this digital transformation work, but now, especially, literally everything has changed. Work has changed, clearly, where, how, even when we work, how we've had to flex work around other changes in our lives. Workers have changed. what matters to us, why it matters. We've changed completely, and so has business. Some businesses obviously had to change the way they deliver services and products to their customers, the way they support the same market that perhaps they supported before. Some businesses have changed even completely what and how they do it, but clearly that's changed. So what that means, what that truly means, is that we have the biggest opportunity that we'll probably ever have in our lifetime to reshape. The slate kind of got wiped clean for us, but if it's not completely done for you, just finish wiping the slate clean and really stop to think about what worked and what's important now. There were so many talent practices and people practices and things that we were doing in our organizations to support the workforce that really didn't matter anymore. They're not important. They're not important in the same way before. They're archaic, they're old, they're broken. Get rid of it. Like literally get rid of it, unlearn it, pretend you sort of forget the old models, especially the ones that no longer served you, and truly use this as an opportunity to write a new strategy. We call it, again, the now of work. There is no more future of work. It's sort of barreled into our homes and our workplaces overnight. This, I touched on this with Dan. This is literally the best opportunity you have to do true change and transformation work, because the normal inhibitors that you would normally experience when you're trying to innovate, when you're trying to bring people along with change and transformation, all of those inhibitors have been broken down for you. So you have less work, less undoing work, because everything literally has changed for you. Not only that, you got like rocket fuel poured onto the work that you were trying to do. You literally have been handed the biggest digital accelerant of decades. I wouldn't even say the decade of our lifetimes. The biggest digital accelerant we've ever seen, I hope there isn't one bigger than this, has been handed to us on a silver platter. What this means, what we've learned when everything changed overnight, humanity is more important than ever. What we care about, how we want to be treated, the experience we expect when it comes to work, but just generally speaking, the experience, how easy and frictionless things are in our regular lives. They should be that natural and intuitive and easy and frictionless at work as well. But even more important than that, our values. Our values don't change when we step outside the workplace. So our values need to be reflected and respected and acknowledged within the workplace as well. So when I talk about humanizing work, that requires, as I mentioned before, that we break a few things. A few of them have been broken, but there's a few more sort of old, staid, familiar, this is the way we've always done things, sort of that insider's bias, old habits that are hard to shake. We do have to be intentional. We have to truly reprioritize what matters most to our organization right now. What would drive the most business impact or truly meet people where they are and the way they need to be met right now. We need to prioritize those things and finish breaking what needs to be broken, or throw away and sort of reframe a few things about the way we deliver experience to the workforce. Now, when we talk about getting creative and getting flexible when it comes to designing workforce experience, I might be a little bit biased here because I'm in one of these categories of people that's feeling a little bit of pain these days. My kids are 100% virtual schooling, 3 grade schoolers under the age of 11. I have a busy, demanding job. I'm doing all of it at the same time. But nobody can do all of it at the same time. So that requires some flexibility and some creativity. And even working for the most empathetic employer in the world, it still requires that we make some changes and that they support me in those changes. Designing flexible work for people. So I'm speaking from the persona, if we're going to use that word, the persona of a working mom. Flexible work does not equal a double shift. Do not expect your people to spread themselves thinner. That's not flexing work. And it definitely does not build organizational resilience. That's not going to build any resilience into your organization. What this means is truly redesigning work so that people can show up and deliver for you with a full cup. With a full cup. That means you're going to have to change a few things. I changed a few things about how I work, how I interact with my team, how I meet deliverables, where and how I schedule meetings. And of course that was supported, but I had to speak up. I had to say what worked for me. Nobody can know what's going to work for me. So there had to be that trust and that bi-directional communication. And I really had to advocate for myself and expect that that would be acknowledged and respected. So it's time to change the game. Like I said, I came up with 5, what I hoped would be kind of specific, tangible things to really crystallize this, to help us understand what it looks like when you humanize an organization and when you humanize the experience of work. And the first one is this notion of hiring people. Hire people, train for skills. So often, and I should provide some pretext here. I'm a former recruiter. My entry into the HR and talent space was in talent acquisition. I ran recruiting and sourcing teams for an RPO inside Fortune 5 company, United Health Group. And so I worked in the recruiting space, and I know, and we still do things the same way, by the way. We haven't broken enough work models when it comes to recruiting. But we hire, based on a requisition, all of these minimum requirements, and some of them are degrees and so many years of experience and experience in a certain field and specific tangible, hard skills that we expect talent to bring to the table. You can train a lot of those things, right? What you can't train is this person an innate leader with the same values that our organization has? Are they hungry? Whatever the culture is, the organizational character of your company, does that person align? The person, who they are, forget the skills they bring to the table, you can train that stuff. And this is even more important. This is compounded because we have a lot of things to overcome. The vast majority of the workforce, people of working age who are working right now, there's a massive need for upskilling and reskilling anyway. And a lot of our recruiting processes and our hiring systems and processes, we already know those are riddled with bias and discrimination. There's lots of problems to overcome there. And in this last year, we went from almost full employment to massive unemployment numbers. So we have like this massive stirring of the talent pot, which makes more people available, probably looking for employment in different roles, industries, verticals than they were before. In some cases, there's entire sectors of employment that have been completely decimated. So now we have this talent everywhere and more talent available than we had before. And some of the systems and processes we use to hire them have some issues anyway. And so I suggest the best way to sort of fix all of these things is to flip the table completely. Just flip the table completely. Hire people. That means hire based on values, character, hire innate leaders, and then train for the rest. Train the skills that your business needs today. Create an environment where they can deliver capabilities to drive specific business outcomes that your business needs today. And I'm saying today intentionally, by the way, because we've entered this sort of like agile era where your plans, your strategies, your roadmaps, you can't have 3 to 5 year roadmaps anymore. You have to have 3 to 6 month roadmaps that you're willing to iterate and change on the fly. So get really specific and really transparent about the skills and capabilities your business needs today and train for that. And then train leadership. There's innate leaders and then there's leadership skills that we all could use some brushing up on. You can train for that. So that's the first way I suggest we humanize work. Hire people, train for skills. The next thing is democratizing opportunity, and this sort of builds on what I just said. when you hire in that way, you have a responsibility, in my mind. Organizations have a responsibility to democratize opportunity, allow talent to participate in their own destiny, allow them. We have this data problem. Everybody on this call knows, everybody watching knows we have a data problem. There's data everywhere. It's not a lack of data. There's data literally everywhere, but we don't do a great job of collecting it and connecting the dots and gleaning insights and knowing what to do with the talent that sits in our own organization. One pretty easy way to overcome that rather quickly is to let talent participate in the process. Create the systems and put the things in place that would allow them to understand what skills and capabilities the organization needs to create the most value and impact, and allow them to self-align, to self-promote, to speak up, to align themselves and participate and volunteer in those growth opportunities, those promotion opportunities. Again, it's not easier said than done. I do get that. There are things that you need to do to make this possible and to make that happen. But if you allow that transparency and that communication and sort of that trust to happen, this is what the business needs, and we give you the means and the models to participate in that process, then you're constantly aligning and realigning talent to your business strategy. And guess what? Talent has skin in the game. They feel like they own their destiny and their career, and they're more highly engaged. They're more loyal. They feel cared for, and all of those things. Third one, work your way. I kind of want us to get rid of a few terms, some coined phrases that we've been using. It's not work from home anymore. We're just working. We're working from anywhere. It's not a Zoom meeting. It's a meeting. It's not remote work. We're just working, right? We're all working in whatever environment we're working in. And this is the whole notion of, sort of forget that, forget the technology that you're using, forget the physical environment, whether you used to be in an office or you didn't, forget the fact that you're conducting meetings and interacting with customers virtually now when maybe there was heavy business travel and everything was in person before. Just sort of forget those notions and understand that we're all working the way we're working. And start, that's part of that digital mindset that I was talking about earlier in that digital equation for success. When you start to reframe work in this way, you're sort of giving yourself permission to also rethink how you deliver digital culture, how you engage people, where and how they're working now. And you're giving a lot of freedom, and in giving freedom, sort of that individual accountability to say, we want you to work in the way you're best able and suited to work. But you have to align that to outcomes and how you measure the business performance. And while I'm on that, when you're talking about measuring performance, I've always hated performance management and talent management as if we're like units of output, that we measure in a production line. Is everyone fully activated to deliver results to the business and create the business outcomes you're looking for? That's the only thing that matters. And what puts me in the best position to do that? Am I happy? Forget my performance management. Am I happy? If I'm happy, if I'm good, if I'm getting my sleep and getting my workout in and my kids are okay, and I have a positive, nurturing, supportive environment where I know I can fully show up and fully contribute in the best way that I can every single day, I'm going to perform for you. I think that was a big thing when everybody started working from home, when we finally sent everybody home to work earlier this year. We never trusted that people would before. It was a big trust issue. I don't know if people are still going to work when they're at home. Well, guess what? They can. Now they need to. And if you create an environment to nurture people to work how they're most productive anyway, your performance is probably going to increase. Make work personal. This is about personalization and relevancy. This is a big, big, big opportunity when it comes to workforce experience. we get this question a lot when we talk about personalization, but how do you do that at scale? How do you give everybody, how do you treat everybody like a snowflake? You don't treat everybody like a snowflake. You allow them, again, by letting people participate in the process, you allow them to make their experience of work unique and to make it whatever it needs to be for them. But it really is important that we personalize and make relevant my experience of work based on where I am, the function that I perform, the outcomes I'm expected to drive. You can't use a peanut butter spread and treat everybody in your workforce the same, provide the same support and services. If I'm in the field versus in office, if I'm essential frontline worker versus a different role, if you act like you don't know me when you ask what support, help I need, when you measure my engagement, when you ask about my experience, then there's a data divide that we're not understanding. So again, the opportunity here is around data for insights, data for design. Act like you know your people. Know your people as well as Amazon knows your people, or as well as my Instagram advertising algorithm apparently knows me. So use the data that you have everywhere. Your workforce is spending hours of their life with you. You know a lot. From a data perspective, you know a lot about their behaviors, how and when and why they work, the tools they find most effective, because they're not using the ones that aren't. So use the data that's literally laying everywhere around you to understand behaviors, to understand what I need, what I want. And then whatever you're missing that creates a whole picture here, then you can ask for it. But if you ask me how many kids I have, my God, you should know that. It's literally in my employee profile. Please don't ask me information that you should already have. Act like you know me. Ask for what you're missing, and then use those insights to show care. That's experience design. You're showing care for your people. So I talked earlier about new capabilities for HR. There are a few new capabilities that perhaps, this whole concept of digital HR and digital transformation for workforce experience, you've got to have design chops. Design thinking, persona development, journey mapping, data insights, data science, such a critical part of this storytelling that you're about to do with your workforce experience design. So I get that they're new capabilities, but they're available, you can develop them, they're absolutely critical to this whole notion of humanizing work by designing work for people, this human-centered approach. There's nothing more human, I swear, there's nothing more human than literally showing me that you know me, showing care by meeting me where I am and creating an experience that truly activates me, truly drives performance and allows me to show up. I have a couple of slides in here for anybody who wants them. Why you would do a persona, how it looks, what it looks like in practice when you actually seek to understand and map out and create an imprint of the whole person, what they want, what they need, how they work. And you show, if this was me, if this was my face and my profile, my persona here, how truly cared for would I feel to know that you're thinking about me like this? That's the opportunity that we have at hand. Okay, the fifth and final one. I know this sounds funny. Act like adults. When it comes to work, again, there are so many things that we somehow, for some reason, we separate. We don't think we can talk about, our fears, our pains, certain parts of ourselves when it comes to work. We separate work and life and family. Maybe we have some personal passions, but we don't really bring them to work. And then there's a whole bunch of conversations we don't even have when it comes to work. We learned that in 2020 with the social justice pandemic that spurred right here in Minneapolis outside my window. We never talked about race at work, at least not comfortably. When it comes to managing performance, aligning people to the business, we dance around topics when actually we should just address them and act like adults. So the best analogy I can come up with for this one that really feels like a 2020 analogy. Let's just say, let's imagine that my business strategy requires that I get from one side of the river to another. That's my business strategy. My boat can no longer make it, but my people can. I'll fix the boat later, but I have to get to the other side of the river. The first people that are going to jump into the river and swim for shore are my swimmers. The next set of people who are going to jump into the water are going to look around for a flotation device, and then they're going to jump in. They just need some assistance. They're not afraid of water. They just need some assistance, but they're going to jump in too, and they're going to swim for shore. The people who don't jump into the water are not swimmers. They don't want to be a swimmer. You can offer them swimming lessons, but they're not going to be a swimmer. They're never going to swim for that shore, and this is no longer the boat for them to be on. That's adulting when it comes to business. And I think when we talk about reskilling and upskilling the workforce, understanding what people need, aligning people to the business changes, markets change, people change, what they want and how they want to show up and deliver change. And in the situation I described, if we relied on the boat captain to handpick their best rowers to get to the other shore, that would not have equated to success. That business doesn't need rowers anymore. They need swimmers. Let the swimmers step up. Allow other people to learn how to swim if they want to. But cut to the chase. Cut to the chase is sort of the point here. The most humane thing you can do sometimes is cut to the chase and act like adults when it comes to work. That means having tough conversations, seeing pain, bringing life to work, and all of those things. So that is, those are 5 ways that I thought we could talk about humanizing work in a real, tangible way. And you know, as we've been talking all day today, change is a mindset before it's an action. You have to want to change, and then you have to take the action to change. The two have to go hand in hand, but it's definitely a mindset first. And I absolutely love this quote. I know I'm a bit over time. There are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. And I feel like we just experienced that this year, Al.
We did. And we're still in the midst of it. The decades are happening before our eyes. And Jess, I feel so blessed because I have been doing this for the past couple of days, and I've seen some through lines emerge. I mean, because there's a lot of folks who want to do good, and the way that you've unbundled this and made it very attainable is greatly appreciated. It's a great anchor session as we start to wrap up. I want to, given we're at this time of the hour, and after the 2 days, how can people engage with you specifically? And it's not just, okay, here's our website, but when you actually go in and engage in a project with you and the Leapgen team, can you just explain real quick what that looks like? Where do you start?
Yeah, well, a lot of people need to wrap their minds around change and transformation and what that means for their organization. Every organization is unique. Your starting point is different. You're at various levels of, mindset and alignment around whatever that vision is. And we get that. And so the starting point isn't the same every time. There's 2 things. I would definitely invite people into our Now of Work community. Jason Averbook, our CEO, is my co-host. We go live every single Friday in a digital meetup, and we talk about all of it. We unpack so many different things. It's real, it's conversational, it's raw. Sometimes people just need to absorb, right? Like, this is the whole mindset thing. They just need to wrap their heads around the work at hand, the opportunity at hand. And so start to sort of immerse yourself in that conversation and get some good notes and take that back to your organization, all that inspiration. The second thing that we offer to help take action and make that real, we do this complimentary, no charge, because it's so important, is a Mindset for Success workshop, because we don't know until we get in there, where is your organization? Do you have your vision really straight, and is everybody aligned around that? Because if you start to do any work. And everybody starts with technology. They just think they can patch stuff with technology. If
Right.
you do any work, I promise it's throwaway work if you didn't start with that crystal clear vision and aligned mindset before you deployed the rest. So I'd encourage everybody to take advantage of that.
Well, again, Jess, thanks for taking on this topic and putting such a tangible narrative around it and a clear path to actually make it happen. So, yeah, thank you again, and hope to see you in person before too long. Yeah.
Yeah, same here, Al. Thanks for having me.
Of course, be well. All right, see ya. All right, thanks. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with Melissa Arante of Medallia and Ian Cook of Vizier.